How are things proceeding here, do you think, with the opening here in the state and with your contacts with the business community? What are you seeing out there?
Sure. Well, again, thank you for having me on. They've been deliberate. They've been very calculated, and obviously we're following the governor's timelines of the phases, which phase one, as we all know, cracks open next week after Memorial Day, and then phase 2, 3, and 4 following the pike after that. And here locally in the city of New Bedford, we're following the governor's lead. Obviously, here in the city, we can't institute local measures that are less enforcement than what the governor is putting forth. We can always go tighter. I know the mayor is going to have a press conference later on this morning with some of his plans that he's going to be instituting, which he looped us in yesterday, but I'll let him make that announcement on what's going on. But we're going to continue to follow state guidelines and make sure, the interesting thing about this, Chris, is, and I've explained this to business owners and constituents alike, and I think you would agree, nobody has the playbook on this, right? Nobody has, the X's and O's on how to figure this out. We're all trying to do the best we can on a couple of things. We obviously want to reopen our economy. Based on what I do for my day job at the chamber and my agenda as a councillor, I'm as pro-business as it gets. We want to make sure that businesses are opened up, where we're getting people back to work, and we're continuing to grow our tax base, creating new jobs, and sustaining the jobs we already have. But also, how do you take the healthcare data and the science, because I believe in science, I believe in healthcare data, and how do you thread that in to the workplace to make sure that we're ensuring that the workplace is safe, that we're not going to put public safety at risk when it comes to things like the workplace, the beaches, the parks, the playgrounds where our children congregate. So there's a lot of that sort of dovetailing going on here. And, to be honest with you, the phased approach, I think, has been the right approach, in my opinion. New Bedford has done a pretty good job, and I got to tell you, I'm out in the community every day, one way or the other, whether it's driving in the neighborhood, seeing what's going on, or whatever. And I got to tip the cap to the New Bedford residents. They're doing their part. They're social distancing. At least 9 out of 10 folks I see are wearing their masks, and they're really doing it. And I live, I think, as you know, Chris, in the South End. I live a stone's throw away from West Rodney French Boulevard and the bike and the walking paths, and I'm seeing folks out my window every single day walking, and they're doing it. There's huge intervals between groups of people walking with their dogs or jogging or whatever. So New Bedfordites are doing it, and it's a good thing to see that we're actually, for the most part, we're taking heed to what the experts are telling us to keep ourselves and our community safe. But there's a lot more that we can do. I mean, as you had mentioned earlier, a lot of this stuff is executive level decisions, the governor, the president, the mayors of municipalities, but it doesn't mean that the legislative branch can't be engaged, that they can't be part of the process. I know that us councilors, we're on the COVID-19 response calls every Thursday. There'll be another one later on today. We have the opportunity to have an open door policy with the mayor on Fridays for discussions. And we can also spur a discussion through our motions, through what we're doing. And I can talk about a motion later on if you'd like, about that I have filed for next week. But we're the boots on the ground. We're hearing from the business owners direct. We're hearing from the constituents direct. And when they have their concerns, it's incumbent upon us to file motions appropriate to get the administration's attention, work with the mayor, work with our health department director, and really be that boots-on-the-ground conduit for our constituents.
We're speaking with Ian Abreu, who's a city council member at large in the city of New Bedford. So, Ian, speaking of what you guys could do, obviously the budget is what you guys really do in the city of New Bedford. I've spoken with a lot of people about the budget, both on the federal level, the state level. Mark Montigny and I were speaking yesterday. He was talking about one of the things he's concerned about is about programs for first responders. He worked with Hank Turgeon on stuff on the state level regarding police and suicide and things like that. Have you had an opportunity to speak with, say, like a Hank Turgeon or other members of the unions in the city about what their concerns are currently working in this environment?
Oh, absolutely. I'm in constant contact with public safety officials all the time, and there are concerns, whether it's through opportunities like Shannon grants, weed and seed program monies, or just in general if they're looking for any type of firefighters apparatuses, and then certain things that we can do locally through capital improvement bonding, through CIP. We can do things like that, but of course, we do have a favorable bond rating, and we approved some capital improvement measures 2 days ago. I know you were talking about the Finance Committee meeting you were watching, so we can talk about that as well. But sure, and I had a conversation with Senator Montigny 2 Fridays ago about this, and he and I had a very frank conversation about where the state money is going to come from when we talk about Chapter 90 and Chapter 70 when you talk about schools and infrastructure, talking about where the federal money is going to come from, because we don't know what the state's going to give us because the state doesn't know what the feds are going to give the states. So it's a very interesting dichotomy we're in. I'm pretty sure you figured out, Chris, that we're going to have to file a couple of 1/12 budget for a couple of months.
Explain that to people so they understand what that means.
Sure. Well, if you can't agree on a budget, or if the money fiscally is not there to set an entire following fiscal year budget to keep government open and running, to make sure that police and fire are getting paid, and to make sure that emergency services are there, and to make sure that our infrastructure services are there, and everything that keeps city government running, you could always file a kind of like an amended short budget for that month. So 1/12, 1 out of 12 months. So we'll have to do a couple of those for sure. We don't even have a budget from the administration yet. The mayor would have already had given us his presentation by now. We would have been starting the budget deliberations, where we have department heads come before us and go over the line items and what the ask is, what he or she needs, and why the rationale is, and we could have that debate, and then we would then come to a meeting, which we call it the cut night, the budget cut, where we would take our proposals of what we're looking to cut, and we would just go down the list and have a roll call to see what goes and what stays. We haven't had any of those discussions yet because the city doesn't know what we're going to be looking like, and the state doesn't know what it's going to be looking like, so we're all in a holding pattern here.
We're speaking with City Councillor Ian Abreu from the city of New Bedford. So, Ian, talk about this motion you have coming up.
Sure. Well, as you know, I think you see on my Facebook page, I'm an equal opportunity eater, so I love to go out and support our restaurants and do a lot of takeout. I've been hyper-focused on supporting local through this all hit the fan, and many of my colleagues are too, obviously. So in my talks with industry throughout the wide spectrum, but restaurateurs in particular, what they were looking at is, look, even when Phase 2 happens, we're only going to be able to be open at a portion of our capacity, and we've got some concerns about, making ends meet. We've got concerns about getting people back to work. Is there anything you can do to help? And the answer is yes, there are some things we can do to help. Look at the Rhode Island model, for example, for dining. And what I have filed for next week's council meeting, and I want to thank several of my colleagues who have already jumped on to co-sponsors. So what I'm asking is I'm requesting that our Board of Health, Licensing Department, and Department of Inspectional Services draft regulations to help safely and legally expand the outdoor dining capacity for all interested New Bedford establishment restaurants while the COVID-19 state of emergency and social distancing measures are in effect and in place. So it's going to be referred to those departments as well as the special COVID-19 business committee, which I'm the vice chair of. So I've already spoken to the chairman, Chairman Hugh Dunn, and I have a commitment from him that when he schedules a meeting with us, when we work on a date, it will be on an agenda as soon as possible, right away, because he understands. He's an economic development guy like myself. He understands the timeliness of this. We need to get this forward. We need to get the administration to the table. They need to be bought into it. And hopefully we can figure out ways to expand outdoor dining capacities for our restaurants. Normally there's a process, right, where you've got to get a special license and the building commissioner's office has to come and inspect, and there's a process for these things, and there's a usual order of chain of events. We're looking for a way to tighten that up a little bit and maybe slash some of that tape so that we can get these folks up and running as soon as possible. I urge folks to check the Rhode Island model, which Gina Raimondo has unveiled. It's pretty good. Tables are set at 8-foot intervals. the condiments on the table. They're all the like the ketchup packets and things like that.
Right. So Ian,
throw out. Yeah. So
Ian,
it's good stuff.
Yeah. It's good. So what? So you're bringing that motion up next week. So what? Well, if it all went through, what would be the earliest that would be able to be implemented?
Hopefully as soon as possible, a matter of a couple of weeks, I'm hoping, because what will happen is we'll get recommendations, and then we'll, with the administration, then we'll take a vote as a council. If there's a positive recommendation on what we're working on, then we punt it up to the administration. The administration's already been made aware of this, so the plan is that, and it's my intention, and the mayor and I have already spoken, I want them at the table, just the way we've been at the table for their discussions. So this needs to be a cohesive effort between both branches of government. This is pretty, Chris. This is pretty bipartisan stuff. This isn't a far left, a far right thing. This isn't a council versus mayor thing. This is a common sense thing. And the mayor is pretty pro-business himself, especially when it comes to areas that could use this service, like Acushnet Avenue, our downtown. We need to get this done.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you again for joining us this morning, keeping us informed on that. I think that'd be nice if you can get those restaurants open. Anything you can do to bring some semblance of normalcy back here. But I want to again thank you, and have a great day. All right.
Thank you, Chris, and continue to be safe and keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. So that was Ian Abreu, City Councillor. He's got that motion to try to make restaurants open with outdoor dining. Try to expand that a little bit. That's it's a smart thing. I mean, you've got to try to make it possible for people to do business and people to be able to get their jobs back.